Dear podcast listeners, hello from our side. We are representing National Rural Network Estonia. I am Konstantin, and here with me in studio are my colleagues Hanna and Annika. Introduction: the RACNES project is strengthening European Union agriculture knowledge by developing one place to house all knowledge generated by Horizon 2020 thematic networks. The main objective of RACNES is to have all the information from across the innovation networks easily accessible to farmers, foresters, and to the rural community as well. The RACNES cross-exchange visit was organized by us, by the Estonian Agriculture Research Center, in June 2020. The aim was to compare the ways of presenting information concerning innovative projects. But special attention was given to the EIP Agri database and the National Rural Networks Innovation Projects databases as well. Actually, a question raised during discussion. Are we sure that we are all talking about the same thing? That is knowledge reservoir or knowledge platform. Annika, could you take out some thoughts?
Well, many participants of the meeting felt that often when we talk about databases of innovation examples, the reality of it is just a catalog of projects. Some of the participants said that the database should allow automatic extraction of information and sending it to users. This would help keep interest in the database. For example, the Dutch National Rural Network Support Unit has compiled information about 275 operational groups. The Latvian National Rural Network Support Unit has gathered information from 30 projects and displayed it in one place. From that point of view, meaning the number of projects, it is quite difficult to develop a serious database. It was proposed by some participants to have one centralized European database that would somehow be adopted by different member states. Having national databases leads to great fragmentation in presenting best practices and projects. Many participants agreed that small databases should not exist alone and instead be connected to each other to achieve better dissemination of results.
So to say, catalogue of projects is first of all interesting for the project managers, but farmers rather need the results and lessons or practical knowledge ready to implement.
As far as I remember, the discussion led to another important question. Annika, is there any bottlenecks on information availability in terms of privacy rights?
Well, yes, there are. Some participants pointed out that the information provided on any database is restricted by GDPR, and there are cases when some information can't be showed publicly. For the EIP Agri database, this privacy concern first came up with some project partners from Germany, due to whom EIP Agri had to hide some information. For example, the Dutch Network Support Unit asks the project manager's permission to publicly present information about that person.
Okay, but are there any tips on how to simplify a database? How to make them more user-friendly?
I'd say the EIP Agri database is a good example. The service point has changed a lot to make the database more user-friendly and simplify the navigation. They started off with 3 sub-databases and with a goal to have the information and keywords in different languages. After a year of work, they realized it is too complicated and they need to make the database more user-friendly. So the 3 sub-databases were merged into one. Project forms were simplified and keywords stayed only available in English.
We all know that many European Union databases are available only in English. Hanna and Annika, what do you think? Is there a strong need to translate that databases to other European Union languages?
The participants of the cross-exchange visit had quite the same reaction. Regarding the EU-level databases, translation is not a big issue. Advanced users of databases, like advisors, researchers, project managers, are familiar enough with English, and when necessary, using Google Translate is in most cases enough, sufficient to catch the first level of information. Translating everything into many EU languages proved to be expensive and technically complicated. even for EIP Agri. Automatic translation mechanism help to cut the project costs in terms of translation, and the Chrome browser linked to Google Translation can translate every web page into any language.
I think translating the jargon and bureaucratic language cannot be done automatically. To make information maximally understandable and more practical to use is by far the biggest challenge. There will be a never-ending need for experts to build the bridges between different stakeholders. The farmers have no time to look around in even brilliant databases. They prefer the material being explained by a practitioner.
Let's focus on the content now. What more was pointed out?
Well, actually, the National Support Unit databases presented during the cross-exchange visit were created only for innovation projects, so there were no specific criteria for the selection of the projects. But every project which the website manager thought relevant for the innovation process, thematic network or operational group, for example, was described in the local language.
The EIP Agri database focuses on 3 types of projects: operational groups, thematic networks, and multi-actor approach projects. But it also has other innovative projects besides these 3. The Dutch Network Support Unit has a separate page for projects dealing with water issues, and it is connected to the main database of the Network Support Unit. Participants pointed out the need to review the websites and databases regularly in order to keep the content relevant.
But the visual. How important is the visual look of the database in terms of end-user preferences? What do you think?
The appearance of a database must be catchy and easily understandable, first of all. On this matter, the EIP Agri database is seen as too complicated. The fact that you can't connect the EIP Agri database to any national or local database is also seen as a big bottleneck. As there are a lot of projects, the search engine must be very efficient. And for this, having a good system for keywords is really, really important.
Regarding keywords, the EIP Agri updates their list of keywords annually, and everyone can propose new ones. For developing a good system for keywords, Google was brought out as an example. Google Search uses an algorithm that knows synonyms and learns them automatically, and another algorithm for relevance, so the user gets the most relevant answers first.
It's time to sum up. Can you bring out the most important points that arose during the cross-exchange visit?
Sure. First of all, when we are talking about the requirements for a database, the process of creating database of innovative projects is usually oriented top-down. The formal obligation to share and publish information about the project results end up with a general low-value information about the project. In practice, these websites are just catalogs of the projects. Secondly, the question of the beneficiary. The project catalogs are important for those users who are already involved in projects and are curious about new ideas. But the needs of practitioners are rather oriented to results and lesson learned. To find out the expectations of the end users, you must first get to know who your target group is, but this may turn out to be a rather tricky question. Depending if your target are farmers, advisors, or public servants, the needs may differ significantly.
And don't forget to make sure of the end user's needs. It is important to make a survey, and user testing is even more useful. The fruitful end user experience relies on the relationship between the user and the website administrator. The information may seem clearly understandable to the website designer, but not for the user. Negative feedback and criticism is a natural and valuable part of designing any product or service.
Although the target group may be practitioners, the advisors and innovation managers are the mediators in receiving feedback. They can be consulted with more actively than farmers.
So, dear colleagues, I think we took out all important points that were discussed in the frame of our cross-exchange visit. And dear podcast users, in case of interest, you are welcome to visit our Eurachnas project webpage. There you can find, in addition to current podcasts, many other podcasts as well, interesting reading materials, videos, newsletters, and many more. And thank you very much for being with us. Tervitustega Eestist!
The Arachnus project has received funding from the European Union's Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Programme under Grant Agreement number 817863.
Royalty-free music from Ben Sound.